We're looking forward to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Juhi, and all esteemed members and panelists. And I'm really honored to be here and a part of such, such a scholarly committee and renowned committee panel members. So, Juhi had asked me, I think, to talk about for a couple of minutes about so I just about the session that we are having today, and I just thought that these are very scattered musings. I want to focus on potential and challenges of Indian regional cinema. But before that, I also want to confess that I come from the state of Madhya Pradesh, and I'm so glad that yes, so the name of Madhya Pradesh came up, and I was so happy to hear that. And like all MP wala, to be very precise, I come from Indore. Oh. So yes, so I come from Indore. Both parents are medical doctors, and father was an out and out cine buff. He had he not been a doctor, he would have, I'm sure, would have ran away to Bombay to become an actor. He was very good looking, and yeah, so the love of cinema comes through him, and so as I always tell because as you know, I'm teaching at IIT Madras, but then I always tell my students that Hindi cinema is in my blood and DNA. I think I was 2 or 3 when I watched. Oh, that my recollections of the first movie that I had ever watched, and that was Diwar, Amitabh Bachchan's Diwar. And I have revisited Diwar several times, and I love it. Every time I watch it, I like it more. And I also teach this course called Film Theory and Practice. Most of my students are from the southern regions, as you know that it is Madras. So we had students from Bangalore and Chennai, of course, various parts of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, Hyderabad, Andhra and Telangana also. So I take a lot of pleasure in introducing very young people, 20, 21-year-old students whose Hindi is not their first language, of course, but in every semester I introduce them to Sholay and Diwar. So those are my staple movies. Yeah, so those are the movies I have grown up on, commercial Hindi films. But at the same time, as I was entering my teens, I became aware of the phenomenal work that has been done in a parallel cinema from our country, and it is an eye opener. Much of our because I don't think we are as good as the West in archiving our cinema or even writing about cinema. I don't just mean preserving our cinema, but I also mean writing about cinema. There is so much that has been done, but there is so little that has been written on our cinema. So that is my major concern. So this is what I want to talk about, that when we think of potential and challenges of Indian regional cinema, regional cinema has been worked on, and I just mean scholarly and by way of scholarly documentation. So in my opinion, because I get scholars, PhD scholars from the southern part of the country, and they always, this is their major concern, that they don't get enough work, enough publications, and enough scholarly theorized material on regional cinema. Hindi cinema, of course, as we all know, for the last 20 or 30 years, it has been done, it has been worked on. And there are so many people across the world who have theorized various aspects, gender, nationalism, and impact of post-globalization, representation of cities, etc., on our, in our cinema. So Hindi films more or less are well documented. But what I feel is that there is a lot of stuff that should be I mean, there is a lot of scope for theorizing and for scholarly material on writings on regional cinema. The other day, I was talking to a very eminent writer, and we were talking about how Hollywood, every major star has they have a number, a list of books as their biographies. If they are not doing their autobiography, then there are biographical material. So many books on each. I mean, look at all the amount of books, number of books. Sorry, on Elizabeth Taylor or Audrey Hepburn or Meryl Streep. And male actors, of course, there are so many and so many books on them. If they are not writing about themselves, then people are writing on them. But some of our greatest leading ladies, and consider, for example, Sharmila Tagore. Okay, consider, for example, Wahida Rahman. I don't know if there has been, a very, let's say, a scholarly work done on these phenomenal actresses who have contributed so much towards our cinema. I mean, to think that we have someone like Sharmila Tagore and she hasn't written her autobiography, which is a pity, because I'm sure that there is a wealth, treasure trove of material from her life, personal experiences, working with Satyajit Ray, and the the kinds of movies she has done, the kinds of people she had worked with. Okay, so there are there are books waiting to be written on these people, but I don't think I don't know why people don't take initiative. So coming to our regional cinema, as already mentioned by Professor Suresh, that there is so much of interest by people in regional films. Pushpa was mentioned. Of course, Pushpa is a blockbuster. And from Telugu industry, we have Bahubali and the more recent RRR. So these are the blockbusters. But let's not forget the smaller gems that are being made, especially in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. And there is in both these states, there is so much of groundbreaking work being done, where especially where gender issues are concerned, where social dynamics are concerned. And I would particularly like to make a mention of, I'm sure all of you are aware of this, but this movie is called The Great Indian Kitchen, where the basic theme, it's a Malayali movie. The idea is that how women, even in today's times, contemporary times, and educated women, they are, they are like, for example, almost like indoctrinated or conditioned to believe that their legitimate place is in the kitchen, within the four walls of their house, and particularly the kitchen. And it talks, all these years, commercial films have taught us that women actually enjoy cooking and the process of feeding the family. But here this movie sort of, subverts the trope that there are women, who want to go beyond the kitchen, and the mess it creates. And the mise-en-scène of the movie is absolutely brilliant. It really makes you empathize and sympathize for women who, despite their lots of talent. Of course, I'm not saying that cooking is not a talent; it's a great talent. But the narrative is of a woman who doesn't really like to do these things, but she has no other choice but to spend her time within the four walls of her house and the kitchen, and then the decisions and the choices she makes. So yes, wonderful films are being made. As already pointed out, blockbusters that are traveling abroad, as well as very small films that are gaining immense international recognition and acclaim. And I think one area of my research interest that I am of late I have been very interested in is the area of film festivals. And I think film festivals are really doing a great job of promoting the kinds of cinema that need to be, or the kinds of films that need to be projected at an international level. So some of the movies that I just mentioned, so they have been traveling, and I do hope that there is a greater, more concerted efforts to promote them and project them and exhibit and distribute them. And dubbing is one way, but I often think that dubbing is not really done all that well. So perhaps, we can, maybe if we can improve the subtitling of our wonderful regional cinema, and of course with the OTTs, things are improving in the last 3-4 years. The kind of attention regional cinema has gained, particularly because of our OTTs. So I think that's a very heartening situation. So these are just my scattered musings that I wanted to share with you. I think I've taken my time, Dr. Juhi.
No, ma'am. Absolutely. It was wonderful to hear from you, ma'am.
Just wanted to introduce, and perhaps then we can talk.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for that insightful